Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing 3 recipes with you that are perfect game day, like little snack appetizers that have some healthier twists to them. So if you are excited to get in today's video, I am too. Let's go on into the first recipe, which is for these crispy Brussels sprouts with a Dijon aioli. And I'm just going to start out by prepping my Brussels sprouts. So I just like to cut the ends off and then cut them in half. I will cut them into quarters if they are bigger pieces, or bigger Brussels sprouts. And then I take off the outer leaves only if they look a little bit dirty. Otherwise, I like to leave them on. And then I put them on my sheet tray and I'm going to drizzle them with some oil. You can use any kind that you like. I'm using vegetable oil here. I was out of my olive oil. And then season these however you like. I like to use some pepper, salt, a little bit of garlic and onion powder. Give that a good toss together. I like to just use my clean hands when I'm making these just for us. And then you're going to pop these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown. I do like to flip them over so they're starting like flat cut side down, and then I'll flip them about halfway through. While those were in the oven, I went ahead and made the sauce, which is just going to be a little bit of mayo, some Dijon mustard, some dried parsley, and a little bit of garlic powder, and a little salt and pepper. Then you just want to just give that a good stir, and I just pop this in the refrigerator so it can kind of meld together while my Brussels sprouts were in the oven. This sauce is absolutely amazing and so good to dip the Brussels sprouts in. And then when you're making your Brussels sprouts, you just want to cook them to your desired doneness. I like for them to get nice and golden and a little bit crispy, and the little outer leaves that fall off get nice and crispy. That's my favorite. But this one is definitely a winner. If you have not tried roasted Brussels sprouts, you need to give them a try. Next up, we have these spinach balls, and they are going to start out with some melted butter along with some eggs. And just so you know, I will always have any recipe linked in my description box below so you can get exact measurements. And then I'm just going to whisk that together before adding in my next ingredients, just so that way I can make sure the eggs were nice and combined in with that melted butter. But then to that, you're going to add in some Parmesan cheese. Now, I just use the Parmesan cheese that's in the little, we call it shaky cheese. You can use fresh Parmesan if that's what you would prefer. But I almost forgot, you do want to season this with some salt, pepper, and then I also did garlic powder and a little bit of dried thyme. Now, the recipe called for half of an onion finely minced. I was a little bit lazy and I just used the dried minced onion, so that's why I put quite a bit in there to kind of substitute for the fresh onion. But I bet the fresh onion would be absolutely amazing. And then, like I said, the Parmesan cheese, and then you're also going to use some breadcrumbs. You can use, I use just plain breadcrumbs, but you can use, the recipe said, the seasoned ones. I started to whisk that and really quickly realized and kind of knew that it would be too thick. So I just switched over to a spoon, and then I'm going to add in my spinach. You want to make sure that you drain and squeeze as much of that liquid out as you possibly can. And I didn't use the full amount of the spinach that the recipe called for because I know my husband and he does not like when there's too much spinach. So even though these are spinach balls, I kind of watched how much I was putting in there. So the original recipe does call for more than this, but I added a little bit at a time, gave it a stir just to kind of eyeball how I knew he would like it. And then on my sheet tray, I'm just going to spray that with some nonstick spray. You can also just use oil if you would like. And then I just used my cookie scoop to scoop these out. And I was kind of noticing, I think the recipe said you can add more butter if you wanted to form a tighter ball. So I just kind of used the cookie scoop and then used my hands to compact them together. But I did notice when I was better about really filling up that cookie scoop all the way, they came out a lot nicer and round. And then I just cooked these at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And look how golden brown and delicious these were. I absolutely love this recipe. Next up, we have this pesto roasted cauliflower. And oh my goodness, I am obsessed with this recipe now. All you need to do is take a head of cauliflower, obviously change the amounts depending on how much you need of this. I wish I would have made more, but it was my first time testing this recipe, so I wasn't quite sure. But you just want to take that head of cauliflower, and then however you like to do it, I'm just kind of breaking off those little florets, and then you're just going to cut them up into smaller pieces. You can make them as large or as small as you like, but I knew that if they were smaller florets, then they would cook more quickly in the oven. So I'm trying to get them as even as I can in size. Some end up being smaller than others, and that's okay. And then I'm just going to place those into a bowl as I cut them up. And then all we're going to do is add on the pesto. and then a little bit of salt and pepper, and that is all you need to season these. And if you like pesto, you will love this recipe. I'm telling you, it is so good. So I'm just going to use my favorite store-bought pesto there. I've shared it many times on my channel. And then again, the salt and pepper, give that a toss together. And then you're just going to place that onto a parchment or foil-lined baking sheet. And then this is going to go into the oven at 400 degrees. And what you want to do is, I made sure to kind of spread this out so that way it would cook more evenly and not be all bunched together. And at 400 degrees, you're going to let them cook for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then we're going to take them out and then give them like a toss or flip them over. If I was making a larger quantity of this, I would just toss them around, because I started like flipping them over and then I kind of just tossed it a little bit. It does not need to be like very precise. So just give them a good toss. And then you're going to go in with some Parmesan cheese. Again, you can use fresh Parmesan cheese. I'm just using that shaky Parmesan cheese out of the container. And then it's going to go back into the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 more minutes. And this is going to come out absolutely perfect. It looks a little bit darker on screen than it did in person. The cheese comes out nice and like golden brown and crispy, and that's like my favorite part. So I just kind of toss that all together so I wouldn't lose any of those little pieces of that brown cheese. And you can serve it just like this, or if you want to dress it up a little bit more, you can take some additional pesto and kind of just drizzle it over the top. And then after that, I went in with additional Parmesan cheese and just topped it over the cauliflower and the pesto to finish it off. And I am telling you, you have got to try this recipe. It was so good. And I know this isn't like a traditional like football kind of food, but I was kind of thinking of like fried cauliflower, but making it a little bit healthier. And if you love pesto, like I said, you will love this recipe. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing the recipes in today's video. And if you haven't done so already, I would really love it if you would subscribe and join my YouTube family. And I will see you in the next video.